Well, I thought I was kind of done looking at FreeTiger knives, but there was a couple of them that showed up that, at least from the pictures, looked fairly interesting. So I decided to pick them up. Here they are, and now that I get them, I realize that they're not copies, but they are definitely homages to a couple of pretty well-known knives. This one is fairly darn similar to the Benchmade Bugout. The blade is quite similar. You still have that little swedge there, high flat grind, thumb studs, and quite thin blade stock. But obviously this one is using G10 inliners rather than either CF Elite or whatever the original really bendy versions were. So that was interesting. The handle is shaped quite a bit differently, though, so that's why I'm definitely calling this an homage. It's not a copy. And this one, which really disappointed me, and I will get into why in a little bit. But yeah, this one's got a flipper tab and a thumb stud, and I got to open it up, and the blade on this is actually kind of interesting, where it's a little bit of a high flat grind. We have a hollow grind going on to it, and a little bit of a reverse tanto thing going on there. Absolutely zero finger choil or sharpening choil on there. And when I first opened this up, I saw this clip and went, and why did they go with a Kershaw clip on that? And I say that because, yes, that is definitely what that is. This is the Kershaw Blur, and this is the Leek. Both of them use that same kind of look and design to it. Looks like the spacing is a little bit different, but very much exactly the same. And that's when I realized that this thing is a torsion bar spring-assisted knife, which was not anywhere in the description of this knife. So that already kind of irritated me. So yeah, this is a torsion bar spring-assisted knife that's kind of designed to be a little bit maybe like a Kershaw Leek. Obviously, it's got a little bit more modified sheep's foot / Benchmade reverse tanto kind of look to it. So yeah, it's definitely not copying anything. It's even not even close to copying the what do they call it? The Random Leek, which was the one that had kind of this reverse tanto kind of blade shape to it. Whoops, that guy's a little slippery. Don't want to cut myself. But yeah, I'm kind of sad on that one. And something that's a little interesting is like almost all of these knives from FreeTiger are using bearings, including their access locks here. But this one, because it's a spring assist, they don't need to. So it's using these really thick nylon washers in here. Just not my favorite. The handle on it is actually fairly decently comfortable. It did also come with the clip mounted up top here, which also mimics exactly how all of these Kershaws did come from the factory. This one came tip up. I have changed this one. It did come tip up as well. This is, of course, the Blur. This is the S30V model, which is neat. Very different from the original ones I remember selling in the early 2000s in my cutlery shop. Those had much more of a grip tape insert, so they were inset in a little bit and much more aggressive than this kind of rubberized Track Tech kind of material there. All right, that was, just kind of an aside. But yeah, so I didn't quite realize it at first, but yeah, both of these are homages to different design philosophies, I suppose. Both of them are using D2 steel, which, hey, FreeTiger does for most of their stuff. There's a couple that have used 14C28N. But by and large, yep, there's that. So these things aren't incredibly bad, but for the price of them, there's just a couple of things. For one, this one You know, I really wish I knew that it was torsion bar assisted. But both of these, the liners are a bit sharp, like all the way around. They really could have kind of knocked that down just a little bit. And, well, there's a couple other things. Let's see if I can shine that in there. Yeah, you can see that little thing sticking out close to the blade. That's one of the axis lock springs, the Omega springs in there. And it just sticks way too far through the liner. You know, it's probably easy enough for me to snip that off. But, yeah, it's just not... The fit and finish on them isn't really close to a lot of their other competition. Their other competition, in my particular mind, is probably Gonzo and well, possibly some of the newer, cheaper Kubi knives that are using quite a bit of the same materials, just executed better, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, either of them aren't too bad, and I guess in the case of this guy, the FT2103, if you are looking for something like a Benchmade Bugout, as far as the blade shape is concerned, then I'm probably okay with saying, yeah, you can pick one of these up. It's not an absolute copy of it whatsoever. You know, the handle is different, obviously much heavier with it being G10 and full steel liners and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the extra stuff that makes a Benchmade Bugout quite a bit of a more premium knife isn't really found here. But if you are interested in kind of that thinner blade stock and that kind of general drop point kind of style, then yeah, it's not all that bad. I would still probably say if you want a bug out, get a bug out, but you know, these are undeniably less expensive at 25 to 28, somewhere right around there, I think, is what I paid for each one of these guys here. This one, like I did say, it does have bearings in the pivot there. They are brass caged, but they're steel bearings in there. You know, that definitely happens at this under $30 price point more often than not. And that's okay. This thing actually felt pretty rough when I first got it. I did actually take it apart and kind of clean it out, which in general with crossbar locks, I don't suggest you do unless you absolutely love dealing with these things, because they are a bitch to put back together. That being said, I did it and it was still a bit rough, but almost all of that is basically down to the access bar or the crossbar needing to just basically break in, because it wasn't the smoothest thing right out of the box. But throwing on some KPL on there works out pretty well for an access bar lock up top here. Best I could probably suggest is to use, here we are, KPL Heavy, because it really stays in place. It's also what they've basically designed it for the detent bar track on knives, but works really well for crossbar lock stuff too, so it really stays put. And yeah, this thing is smoothening up a little bit. For me, what I am thinking I will try to do to kind of fix up a little bit of these sharp edges around like all of the liners here is, well, I have this triangle rod from the Spyderco Sharp Maker, and throwing that in there, it will basically give me a nice edge to be able to rub up on that and hopefully knock down some of that edge. There's no burr there, but it's just not as nice feeling as I would particularly like it. That being said, it's not a proud liner, you know, not a shadow box thing, so I really do appreciate that particular design thing that they went for it. But yeah, all right. So there's a couple of FreeTigers. When I first got them in and played around with them and everything, I really wasn't feeling like these things deserved a video at all, but why not? I might as well do it. They're new, and well, it's January, and because of that, a lot of people are gearing up for some new knives coming later on down the pike, but not a whole lot coming out at the moment. So, sure. Here's a couple of FreeTigers. Like I said, though, I mean, unless you are specifically curious about how the blade geometry of a Benchmade Bugout would work for you without shelling out the close to $200 that most of them end up costing, then that one's all right. But in general, I would say probably skip these guys. Neither one of them I really think is worth the price. They're not, as I said, very expensive. They were about 25 bucks a piece or so. But that being said, right around in that same price range, you also have a little bit more compelling options from Gonzo and Kubi and things like that, that I would probably put my money towards those instead. So, all right. Well, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. And as always, have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.